it's also a matter of, is there someone who can counter it now? Like, for instance, we've seen him pick Zillion and then someone counter it with Lulu and chase him all the time around and just make the whole game a 4v4. Lulu being pretty good, not only because she also has a speed buff, but she can also slow. It's not one or the other. She has both at the same time, so she can kind of keep up with Zillion more or less. Her slow Glitter Lance also having huge range and can go across the corners of walls. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm very interested on how both teams, well, Pooters and the enemy team, are going to react. We are going to see a Wukong first pick, it seems. And that's going to get locked in. Wukong, I feel like it's been a while since I've seen Wukong actually getting some playtime here in Dominating Dominion.
Yeah, Wukong's one of those champions that just seems to be a player preference thing. Sometimes we see him get banned out, sometimes we see him get picked, sometimes we just don't see him at all for whole tournaments at a time. And Wukong's a great champion, but I dare say he's just darn balanced enough, man, for, the times that he's not represented versus times he's banned versus times he's picked. Great champion. Ooh. I'm going to get on that in a second. So yeah, Wukong's a very solid pick. Durable, does good damage. AoE, airborne is awesome. But we're seeing a Jax and a Vayne, and that combination to me feels a little bit scary. Both those characters just kind of run away in the damage department. Like, they'll run so fast that there's a joke that I can't make. So someone else will make it for me in the chat, hopefully. But Jax got a stun, and he can do a lot of damage. Vayne has a stun, she can do a lot of damage. Like, who do you kill there? Do you focus Vayne, or do you focus Jax? Like, do you wait for that counterattack to come up and then drop so that you could burst Jax down? Or do you dive past the Jax to the Vayne? This screws up the target priority so bad.
Pretty much. We are seeing the Jarvan being locked in, and now Skarner instead of the Leona highlight, so Skarner pretty good. I've started playing Dominion a little bit more, mostly because when I was away, I don't actually have a laptop. I only have a netbook, and I play on a desktop at home, so I can't game on the go, which makes me very sad. But my host had a crummy little laptop that couldn't handle like Summoner's Rift for some reason, although I feel like it should be the other way around just because it's more team fighting on the Crystal Scar. So
it's a larger map. I think it's got more load.
I guess that's what it is, yeah. So I played a lot of Dominion. I kind of got into the groove of playing Skarner bot, been having a lot of fun with him myself. And overall, I mean, he's a very strong champion, of course, in bot lane also. Has pretty good wave clear, is very good at dueling 1v1, and if need be, also can be a fair amount of scariness in team fights against the enemy team, especially with that initiation or pickoff. So we'll see how that plays out. We are seeing another Irelia being highlighted, and then Warwick. We talked about Irelia before. Warwick, of course, very, very strong champion, has that suppression, which is just always strong. On any champion, if they have a suppression, they're already pretty strong just because it's a huge amount of CC, and he does good damage with it. He also gets the Blood Scent if the enemy champion is low, which gives him a huge speed buff, which is good for either chasing or going to a tower nearby. And he's also sustainable. He has that built-in lifesteal, more or less. So pretty good champion. We are still seeing Leona being highlighted, and then there's the Janna for Pooters. So I have no doubt Janna's going to be locked in. We'll see if Leona's actually going to get picked this time around.
And I like the Leona pick. Leona is a character that I understand sees a lot of play on Europe West by a couple particular top-end players, and she was used to really good effect in their last tourney, but we don't see her on North America as much. And I really like Leona because she's got a good gap closure with a Zenith Blade. She has 2 stuns. I mean, she's got Solar Flare, and then she's got the whatever that other button is. And Eclipse is really good for initiating fights because it makes her resilient to that initial burst damage that you'll impulsively want to deliver. It's like, oh, there's a there is a Leona right in front of me. Nothing else is in range. I might as well just deal some damage to her. But you gotta want to hold that back for a moment or two against her because of Eclipse. And we're seeing a Warwick, which you touched on a little bit, and it's interesting to see a Warwick because Warwick's not one of those champions that sometimes we see banned, sometimes we see picked, sometimes we just don't see him at all. And the last pick, I don't know what they pick for the last pick. What are they missing? They need a bottom laner, but Jax can bottom lane?
Do they
They
want
need
someone
a
dedicated?
spell damage. They could use some magic damage. I think it'll be someone with some magic damage, or I could be completely wrong.
I mean, they don't really have anyone dedicated to chasing away Janna. They could kind of, trade off back and forth. As long as you're kind of aware of where Pooters is and you have good communication, of course you have ways around that. But we've seen in the past a lot of people are just chosen to kind of be like, hey, you are going to anti-Poot, and you're just going to stick on Pooters the whole game. That seems to be this, the default way to deal with it. But of course, with good communication, you can kind of be like, hey, on the way up, make sure you kind of deal with Pooters, or kind of just do drive-by pushaways on Pooters. We are going to see Alistar being locked in. He has a lot of CC. Again, not that much magic damage as you mentioned. And yeah, both teams kind of interesting here. Pretty much all melee on the blue team because Pooters is gonna more or less be doing his own thing, I would assume. Everyone else is melee, but they all have gap closes. Skarner, not so much. He has a speed buff, but Jarvan, of course, has the dash in with the knockup. Wukong also has the dash in on Nimbus Strike, and then the follow-up knockup with his Cyclone. Leona, like you mentioned, tons of CC along with that gap closing. On the enemy team, we have Irelia with a gap closer and a stun. Jax, same dealio, and Warwick with a gap closing suppression, and Alistar with a gap close and another stun. So kind of both teams having good initiation. The thing is, the enemy team on the purple team. I say enemy team just because I always by default think the left side is my team because that's what it is when I play games. But purple team, which is amputees, has Vayne. So if they get the initiation first, Vayne's gonna put out a lot of free damage.
For a moment, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, we have no ranged versus ranged. But then I'm like, well, Cataclysm, for one. And two, Zenith Blade goes to the last target hit. So those are both good ways to get at Vayne in the back there. And seeing Alistar, he's terribly hard to unseat from a point. So against a team of champions that do a lot of like sustained damage, like Wukong, J4, and Skarner tend to do, Alistar I think is a very, very good pick against them because you get a point, people dive onto a point against an Alistar. Alistar can use his ultimate and just delay, 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 delay. Now, with a Warwick there as well, it's going to help out a lot. It's a lot of auto attack champs against a Jax as well. I'm not quite too sure how I feel about that. And one of the things, though, that I've never seen in a tournament, now this is more on the subject of Pooters, is Pooters playing Jhin. There's no, as you mentioned, there's really not a dedicated anti-Pooters. But at the same time, Pooters doesn't always Pooters. I played a game with him once. Well, I played more than one game with him, but in a game one time, we went against a team that had a couple people that we knew the Pooters meta, and he played Zillion, and he went like full out AP, leveled his bomb first, and like we went into a fight, and he's like getting like triple kills at the drill with like double bomb. They stack up, they all die, and it's like they're like, you're supposed to Pooters, and he just like posts smiley face. So sometimes you can see him mix in something like as a surprise like that. I mean, Pooters is a very versatile player. He doesn't just back cap. We don't see it too often in tournaments because back capping is what he's the most proficient at. But it's not unheard of for him to be back capping something like drill. Use that movement speed because when someone comes down to the drill to interrupt him, he'll use that great amount of movement speed that he has to go hit that speed shrine, run around, cut around behind them, get 3 seconds ahead of them, get to the fight up at the windmill, and now it's like 4v3 for a good 4 or 5 seconds. That other person who's usually slower catches up unless they're another really speedy champion, and he can mix it up in that fight and then turn around and then go back and get the drill anyway. And yeah, Pooters is the best backcapper. Just period, man. I'm happy that Pooters is in the game. It's gonna be good.
should
Should be
should be
starting
very
in
fun.
just a moment here, assuming nothing goes crazy.
There we go. Moving on to the loading screen. Once again, this is round 2 of Dominate Dominion number 27, powered by Cyber Sports Network. We are watching a match between Beware Tall Grass on the blue side, which will be on the top of the screen here in a second, going up against Amputees on the purple side on the bottom of the screen as we load in. Your casters for the night are Chobra, myself, alongside Gander.
Hello.
and we are now loading. You mentioned earlier, this is again a little bit of sidetrack while we load, about animations on the splash arts. I learned when I was at Riot that that was kind of pretty much what they thought too with the login screens. It used to not be animated at all, and then they started doing it, and now every time a new champion or a special skin comes out, they put it out, and they had this animator who showed up and was like, hey, you guys could just add a couple little things and it's suddenly much more vibrant. And so now we see, for instance, right now, Kha'Zix, his wings kind of flap, he kind of moves back and forth. We've seen Diana, for instance, during the login had her hair flowing, and I think that adds a pretty cool factor. It would be pretty neat to see it on the loading screen, but I don't think that'll ever happen just because of the resources it would put on people who already load quite slowly.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about League the most is the fact that it's really light on resources. Just
Definitely.
damn near every computer. I have a 7-year-old computer that runs on Windows XP that I use once in a while when my main computer goes down, and I can run League on it just fine. I mean, yeah, a little bit slower, but once I'm in game, I don't have any snags, and I'm really a fan of games that are resource light. So, but looks like we have loaded into the game.
Yep, we are
Cool.
in. People buying their items.
Woo! All right, cool. I'm in the game on time for once. I'm not late to the show. This is excellent. Seen a couple Kindle gems right off the bat. One for Leona, one for Warwick. Would not be surprised at all to see them turn into a Hextech sweeper. Seeing Vayne opt for Berserker's Greaves first. Spent 90 minutes talking about boots with some players the other day. And Berserker's Greaves are something that fit a pretty niche role in the game. You want to generally only take Berserker's Greaves if you have a pretty solid wall of people in front of you, and with Irelia and Warwick and Alistar around, or Irelia, Jax, Alistar, or whatever the combination ends up being, then it's going to be a really good position for Vayne to be in, being able to get kind of as much attack speed as she wants, especially with no ranged people to harass her on the enemy team. Makes that another little bit even more solid of a pick than usual. Usually Dominion's kind of run by Merc Treads and Ninja Tabby, so we'll have to see how that plays out. We got Beware Tallgrass on the left, Kless as Wukong, Dusakar as Leona, Naudison as Jarvan, the fourth, Jiggly the Puff as Skarner, Pooters on Janna, I'm Gander casting with Chobra on the other side. We have Amputees, Hammerhand playing as Aurelia, Rubber Nips playing as Vayne, Brown Bruiser as Jax, No God Tri-Science as Warwick, and Metal Fenrir as Alistar.
Pooter is actually choosing not to go with the move speed shrine, and Vayne's gonna catch him right as he tries to go for the Boneyard. Vayne actually puts a lot of damage, put out that really good condemn coming up from Nips here, and then we do see Brown Bruiser running down after catching that move speed to make sure Skarner doesn't get a free push. Meanwhile, top, we do see the fight going down, and there's a lot of action going on. Dustakar has taken quite a bit of damage, but so has Noga Tri-Science, and now Tassan is doing free damage until we do see Hammerhand turning around, but Hammerhand's going to get finished off. But here is Rub coming up as Vayne. That's going to be a ton of free damage going on to now Tassan, and also Dustakar. Kless is here with full health, but it's not going to be good enough as we see Vayne tumbling over to get the health relic after just camping in that brush. Will we see the windmill go down? We actually see Kless doing a lot of damage as Wukong onto that poor Vayne. Noga just trying to bring him down as we see Metal Fender and Alistar trying to get the channel down. Not enough time. Jarvan comes in, now does him with the combo and the slow along with that shield. Now Kless is going to run away as they finish off the kill onto Metal Fender. We do see two people. No, actually it's just Hammerhand being chased by Dustakar. Hammerhand also in a little bit of trouble. It's a 1v3, and this is a very bad situation right now for amputees. And that's usually what happens if one team gets a little bit staggered in their revives. It's actually a lot more worse because they end up having to go in one by one or having to wait. So the windmill has been sacrificed. Meanwhile, bottom lane though, Brown Bruiser gets to neutralize against Jigglypuff, Puff, and there's the exhaust. It's a 1v1, just auto attacking one by one. But the exhaust actually trade off now going down onto Jax. Can he get a counter strike up? No, he's going to get no. He actually finishes off Skarner. The health bars were stacked on top of each other, and Pooter's now getting chased away by Hammerhand.
And then up at the top, Metal Fenrir trying to keep people away from his allies there as Brown Bruiser gets chased out of the fight, and that is definitely one way to deal with AD carries. You put a tank on them and you say dive. And in that case, Warwick was in Vayne get mode, just driving straight at her to keep her back out away from the team. Metal Fenrir trying to keep anyone else from being able to get involved in that chase. But now it's Naudison up at the top by himself against what's soon to be three people. If Vayne comes up to this fight, Aurelia on her way up. Also, we have Pooter's Janus swinging around from the drill, which is going to momentarily take some of that pressure off the windmill. As soon as he begins capping, we can already see Aurelia responding to that there. No God Try Science picking a little bit of a fight with now to Sand, but getting drawn back away from the point as Pooters kind of forces Aurelia and Vayne to chase. And this looks like a sandwich for Pooters. Gets a nice condemn right there, and Pooters is going to pop that Monsoon, kick her away, and disappear into the jungle.
Warwick actually jumps over the wall with that suppression. That's going to be a quick kill onto Pooters. Well, Kless gets away with that decoy, but not for long as we see all members of AmPut's chasing through. Double kill for Warwick. Noga Trisign still pushing through. No longer has that speed buff, but there's actually the turnaround from Leona. Wants to keep this tower in their control for as long as possible from Bjorntogas, but no dice as Vayne picks up the kill quickly, and there's a great Cataclysm. Picks a quick kill onto Aurelia. Can't now have to keep it though. No, so many minions just beating down on this tower. Gets now going to get captured purely by minions really quickly. There's a capture for AmPut's up at the windmill. Meanwhile, bottom lane, look at Brown Bruiser just dominating right now, pushing up against Jigglypuff. Jiggly not having much health left right now, also has no pots, just relying on that Prospector's Blade for the health and the lifesteal. The health relic did just come up, so he can go pick that up really quick. Meanwhile, Ground Bruiser just pushing out the lane, making it so that Skarner has no escape. We do see Leona making her way down bottom though. Did show herself as she walked through lane. Jax might get the kill before she shows. She's actually going just straight towards top, not aware of what's going on in the bottom portion. Now finally turns around, but Brown Bruiser already got the kill. He's not going to get the neutralize, so if Duskar gets here in time, no! Oh, the minion finally gets to neutralize, and Brown Bruiser says job well done, going to back up as we see Vayne pick up a kill on Pooters, and Kless in a very bad situation up top.
Yeah, Kless trying to get out with that decoy, but Warwick is right there behind him and still living for a little bit longer. Now just able to prolong his friend's lifespan with an airborne right there, but then eats a lot of knockbacks and stuff himself from Alistar, keeping him crowd controlled, enabling the team to deal some damage, and J4 is going to get taken down. With Leona away from the fight, they really didn't have a tank there to help disrupt that at all. Vayne's going to be able to pick up that Storm Shield, and they're in a pretty good spot to apply a lot of pressure on the refinery. Jenna does not believe in pressure, however. Pooter's just kind of going wherever he wants to. Looks like he's going to try and make a play for the drill again, potentially. The drill being probably one of the favored targets because there's usually no one at it, so you can get the most cap time in on one of those when back capping. You can see that position being forced already. We got Ali and Warwick coming back, which is going to enable them to send 3 people up to top. It's going to be a 3 versus 1 against Aurelia for right now. Kless right on into that fight. Hammerhand dashing out away from that solar flare there, and they are able to pick off Aurelia very quickly, and now they're going to be able to turn this point around.
The bottom that did allow Rub and Brown Bruiser to pick up a really easy kill onto Jiggly on Skarner. The tower got neutralized, they got the kill, they got the cap. So it's still a 3 cap in favor of AmPut's. They responded very well to that. They put 1 person on Pooter to take away the drill. They had a really up top kind of sacrifice, but they said, you know what, we're already more focused down bottom. Vayne has a lot of attack power, especially with that Storm Shield right now. Jackson gets the stun onto Skarner. That's an easy kill, and great suppression after the cleanse. Very well timed, and Pooter still gets away though because Jarvan comes in with the airborne, and look at that speed, just gonna run away. Even though Warwick has the speed buff on Blood Scent, that is the power of Janna.
Yeah, those suppresses. No God Try Science have been very good at laying them, especially that amazing one earlier on, the over the wall one. But Pooter's getting caught in the middle of the map, unfortunately, not able to get away. Janna no fly zone, flight grounded. Flight canceled. Other plane jokes. Up at the top, though, we got a Cataclysm goes down to try and keep people contained up there so J4 can stand and deliver his damage. Duskar and Kless showing up a little bit late to the fight, but it seems like it's going to be okay. Nowdison is playing J4, and he is quite a durable champion, dashing up to pursue Metal Fenrir, but they're not really able to connect with him. Looks like they're circling around behind. Duskar is going to find Jax. He poked his head out. Nope, Jax recalled just a moment before then, and Duskar going to go for a little bit of a back cap here, which is going to provoke Jax into coming out and having something to say about that.
Ooh, does get the neutralize. That's going to be pretty helpful for a couple seconds, and we do see Metal Fenrir in a little bit of trouble. There's the Zenith Blade, allows Wukong to get the quick kill. There's the Solar Flare, getting the stun as Jax tries to counter-strike. Exhaust goes down onto Wukong, the Brown Bruiser. Can he get the kill onto Kless? I'm not so sure. Oh, look at the damage. I am pretty sure at this point, Duskar now dueling, but there is the Grandmaster's Might, giving him that armor and MR. He's now going to chase through Duskar low on mana. There's the Leap Strike. Brown Bruiser, can he get the kill? One more auto attack. It was also the 3rd strike on his ultimate, so that's another kill for Jax. Jax, 2 kills going down. Meanwhile, Cooter's just annoying No God Try Science right now here at the Boneyard. Meanwhile, as all of that was happening, Hammerhand got the Refinery for amputees. A very, very well played up at top as Alistar distracted all 3 of them. Hammerhand had a free tower up at the Refinery, and we see Vayne still in control of the quarry. Now gets exhausted, is forced to run, uses Condemned Skarner, does not want to get pulled backwards. That would have been really, really bad for Rub, and we see Kless following through with that decoy, does get the Nimble Strike. Look at that damage, half of her health pretty much. Picks up the health relic, turns around, but not going to get kited by Vayne anymore. Refinery still in favor of amputees as Quarry goes down for Brutal Grass along with the Windmill. Very, very odd tower situation right now.
And in the middle of the map, No God Try Science getting caught up by that Speed Shrine by Nowdescent, and Duskar Hammerhand coming around from behind. It's also thrown down on Nowdescent. Kless and Metal Fender joining the fight now. A pretty solid Solar Flare right there from Dustikar's Leona. Kless with the ultimate, though, it will deliver a lot of damage. There's so many people so low on that team, but Jax coming up to help out his partners, making sure that everyone is A-okay. Good guy, Jax.
Jax is doing a lot of damage. Meanwhile, can Rub get the kill? No, there is the Impale. Is it good enough? There's a shield from Pooters, allowing Jigglypuff to live just long enough as Pooters and Jigglypuff get the kill onto Rub on Vayne. Meanwhile, top we do see Brownverse and Metal Fender. They want the Windmill back. Excuse me. They want to go back to kind of a standard 3-cap instead of being spread all over the map. That's a little bit dangerous for the team. So they sacrificed the Refinery for the Windmill. Good trade, in my opinion. As we see Pooters roaming about in the middle, showed himself for a short second there, and No God's going to go for the intercept. No, he's actually just going to turn around after picking up that move speed shrine and going to pressure Pooters away. Doesn't want to commit too hard right now. They want to make sure they don't lose out on awareness of the other portions of the map. Jigglypuff is going to get caught out. There's the counter strike, and there's the suppression a little bit stacked there. Unfortunate, but does not matter. Jigglypuff taking so much damage. There's a Blessing, there's a Leaf Strike. Are they fast enough to catch up to the slow coming out from Jigglypuff? Still trying to run, but No God Try Science is too fast with that Blessing. Meanwhile, though, great play because Pooters is going to capture the Boneyard. Too long of a distraction. Top Kless also gets the kill onto 2 people of the opposing team alongside Nowdescent. They're going to get the Windmill too, and they actually now just left No God Try Science from amputees to capture the quarry. Pooters now just taking 1 tower at a time.
And Roman Nips was zoned out from that fight at top for a little while. Kless did a ton of damage up there to be able to help unseat Alistar. And Leona, Duskar's Leona dove really hard to keep Rub My Nips' Vayne back away from things. And only just now, near the end of it, was Vayne able to turn back around and get some damage in, and was able to kill Leona in that exchange. Hammerhand over here trying to keep Pooters away. Pooters a little bit slow at that Howling Gale there in that interrupt of the Alistar, which missed, unfortunately.
Oh, the revive speed from Vayne is too fast. Pooters is going to go down, just chasing down. No worries. Meanwhile, towards the top middle portion of the map, we do see No God Try Science going to get taken down, but it's still a 2v2. As Irelia and Alistar come in, great pulverize after the Solar Flare from Leona, so they both got stunned 2 versus 2. Nowdescent now dueling against Hammerhand. Metal Fenrir actually zoned out Leona for a short second, but there's a Zenith Blade. This could go either way, but Nowdescent is a little bit lower, but jumps over the wall, and that leads Hammerhand to just go on to Duskar. Duskar taking a lot of damage, and Pooters is coming through for the save. There's the shield, and we do see Nowdescent actually walking all the way up to the Windmill and picks up a health relic. Is he going to stay? Yes, because we do see people coming over. Wants to get that delay. They want to try to keep their towers as long as possible. They are losing out a lot right now. There's the Cataclysm, but there is the headbutt. Pushes him actually away from his target, and a great kill by Vayne pushes him away as they get the last hit for that true damage. Meanwhile, Duskar puts out a good Zenith Blade, but we do see Irelia left back to start the channel on the Windmill. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Kless and Jigglypuff capture their quarry, and they're now trying to push up against the Boneyard. Kless takes a lot of damage though, was not able to escape with that decoy because Tower gives vision, and Kless is now just getting chased down by Brown Bruiser. There's a Leaf Strike with the kill. No God Try Science now chasing down Jigglypuff. There's the exhaust, there is the Empower, and he is now slowed with that proc from Jax. That's a quick kill for those 2 champions. Kless returns with Revive alongside Duskar, but I don't think it's going to look too good for them. Meanwhile, top, Hammerhand gets killed with that Damascus Standard from Nowdescent. Great hit right on top of the champion model, and now Nowdescent looking to to cap that windmill or door tall grass. Meanwhile, bottom, it's a 2v2. Brown Bruiser actually very, very low, is able to leave strike out, leaving No God Trisigns alone, but he's doing okay. There's the health relic on Brown Bruiser. He tries to port out. No, he's actually just going to try to leave strike back out. Shield of Daybreak goes on No God Trisigns instead of Brown Bruiser. Can he get out? No, there is the Eclipse actually picking up the kill despite the counter-strike, mitigating some AoE damage. No God Trisigns now not in a very good spot. 3v1, it's no good even if you're a very strong champion. Kless going straight for the Boneyard.
And Brown Bruiser back with that revive right away. A very good revive right there to help out and keep them back away from the point. Without Jax, that fight might have gone a little bit differently, but Kless eating that stun, unfortunately. The stun not caring about him being invisible at landing anyway. And Julie the Puff now is really not going to be able to defend this 1v3. Now, Pooters is heading down to the bottom point, but I'm not sure Pooters has the ability to keep this disrupted either. It might be a little bit of a tough thing for him. He's getting into the mix of that fight, but just doesn't really have any hit points, unfortunately. The point does go neutral there, and it's not looking good for that bottom point. Julie the Puff comes down in there, gets condemned back away, retreats a little bit, tries to dive back in. Julie the Puff knows that Vayne is the primary source of damage, throws an exhaust down, but that tumble was able to get some distance anyway and buy time for the exhaust to wear off before turning around. Got the final hour going now. Julie the Puff tries to run away, but it's hard to run away from Vayne with the movement speed increase that she gets for pursuing a target now. So it's up to Kless, dives in for Rubman Nips there, and is able to get off some damage, but Rubman Nips just kiting. Alistar's just cowing. No God Trisigns, just Warwicking and Warwicking, and it's just not so good for the Monkey King.
That was great condemn as Wukong tried to go in with that Nimbus Strike, but Brown Bruiser is going to stop Pooters, does get the stun, but an instant Monsoon. Great timing by Pooters. Can he run away though? Aurelius coming in for the cutoff. It's not looking too good for Pooters. Hammerhand gets the note, is going to get the slow right away, and that should give Jackson time to leap over Kenny. He doesn't even need the counter strike. That's a quick kill. There it is though, just in case. Meanwhile, Roman Nips is now gets the condemn after the Moose Spear Shrine. Great positioning against Jigglypuff, kiting away with those two Phantom Dancers, giving a lot of attack speed and move speed. Very interesting right now with those Phantom Dancers stacking. That's also been the reason why Rumnips has been able to catch up to Pooters quite well. Meanwhile, they just got the cutoff against two people, but Nips is under the tower, so Kless not able to die right now, and there's the final hour. That's a lot of damage, especially from Brown. Brown Bruiser is just doing tons of damage. 13, 2, and 5, has that Triforce on top of a Last Whisper, gets the Impale. Can he get him into laser range? No, Brown Bruiser says no, go away. I am going to leave strike out of here.
And that was pretty scary. You didn't drag into the laser is a very unfortunate thing to have happen. So he was able to keep that from happening just barely. But with all that pressure that was going on, with all that damage from Vayne, and it's not, they don't really have any way to come back from this now, unfortunately. They're stuck 3 caps to 1.5, and that bottom one might get turned around, but it won't stop the clock in time.
Yep, I mean, we saw amputees have a 5 cap there at the end for a split second. That's just how dominant they got, and it just really wasn't going to work out. You know, once they could shut down Pooters, and by shut down, it really just means make it so that he can't cap anything, and when Brown Bruiser is snowballing that bottom lane, they had a really immense late game to look forward to. Vayne, Irelia, Jax, just so much damage coming out, and the enemy team falling off a little bit more in terms of damage. So unfortunately, amputees, or unfortunately for Buratal Grass, rather, excuse me there, amputees will win the game and move on into round 3.